All right, here we go. The 2017 Physics 1, question 4. Like I said, we're not doing question 3. We're going to do question 4. It's kind of the same flavor, just different content area as question 3. It's also a little bit shorter. So the first thing I do is I see this and I see a big block of text. I'm not looking at it yet. I'm looking at the picture and I'm thinking to myself, okay, block sliding down. This problem is about energy. Definitely something about energy here. And also, this thing could fly off the edge. So probably energy and projectile motion. So that took, what, like 10 seconds. But I always want to just like look at the picture and try and think about what it's going to be before I get into their ridiculous, huge block of text. So design a low friction slide, launch a block horizontally so as right projectile motion. Teams 1 and 2, right, both start the same height D above the tabletop, okay? However, choose, okay, it's essentially just explaining the picture, boom. I'm not gonna get too much into the details of that text. There was nothing really all that relevant that the pictures didn't say. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, but both blocks are released from rest at the top of the slides. Do block and 1, 2 land at the same distance from the respective table? Yes or no, justify your answer. Now, so here, sometimes with these problems they say you must not use math, but I think that the math kind of informs what's going on, even if your math can't be your justification. So here, very quickly, I know that x, meaning how far it's going to go, is going to be xi plus vixt plus 1/2 axt squared, and I know that's 0, and let's see if that's the origin. So in other words, whichever one has the greatest product of vi and t, then we're going. Okay, so now first thing I would say is, oh, well, they both spend the same time in the air, right? Both spend same time because, or they're in air because delta y is the same. Okay, great. So I've got that down. So this is about VIX. Which has a greater VIX? Well, here we go. Looking at this block 1, if we just think about energy, this undergoes a greater change in vertical distance than this one does. That means that this thing is going to be going faster. And I would say energy is conserved as it slides down. And the delta y for 1 is greater than delta y for 2. In fact, I might say d versus, you know, what is this, like some sort of less than d. Therefore, Vx for 1 is greater than Vx for 2, and therefore no, because the delta x for 1 is going to be greater than the delta x for 2. Notice I'm using a lot of symbolic logic here. Sometimes the problems say that you have to use words and only words, but when in doubt, like, symbolic logic is really helpful, and using equalities, using things like greater than, less than is important. Or if you're talking about relationships, not that this problem is, but let's say I see that x is equal to vixt, I can say, well, x is directly proportional to vix, therefore here vix, if that's increasing, therefore x is increasing. You know, statements like this in symbolic logic often go pretty far with the AP graders because they've got thousands of papers to grade, and it's so much easier to read symbolic logic than sentences upon sentences upon sentences. So let's go on here. So another experiment, low friction slides, energy is still conserved, same height. Oh, okay, so they just changed the shape, all that's the same. So both blocks are released from rest at the top of the respective slides. Which block lands further from the respective tables? Here we go, same thing. So for I, it's going to be without manipulating equations. See that, right? Well, here, I would just say both undergo same change in height from start to table. I'm gonna even label the points A, B, right, from height to table A to B. Therefore, the speed of 1 at B is equal to the speed of 2 at B, and still say they still spend same time in air because same delta y from B to C, therefore time is the same, and therefore it is the same. There we go. And then II, which block hits the ground first? Okay, well, we just already talked about because same, actually, which block hits the ground first? They're going to spend the same amount of time in the air here, but which of these takes the least time to go from A to B? And we would say for block 1 is quicker because its average acceleration from A to B is larger because the slope initially is steeper. Okay, so I'm connecting my answer to my reason. Very simple, very straightforward. That's the sort of thing that they're going to be doing on this exam, is asking you to write sentences explaining physical scenarios. And so that is the sample of what the first problem is going to look like. It's obviously going to be longer because it's 25 minutes and it's probably going to have some data put into it. So in other words, one of the other sample problems that I'm going to go through, which is the 2017 Mechanics 1 APC question, so you can see some of the data stuff that they'll end up doing. They'll probably be melding a question type like this with that other problem.